we've gone through the process. There's a proposed tower of design and some maps supporting it regarding coverage. And we're seeking public input. The next steps for this process, as we go through public input, is eventually to go through planning and zoning and then to council. And so from here, I'll let Troy Meyer, Assistant Town Manager, take over and continue the presentation.
All right, thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor mentioned, this is an opportunity for the community to give us feedback on the proposed cell tower located at the corner of Dave and Dove at the west side, on the fire station site, on the west side of that site. Before we get started, what I'd like to do is have the panel introduce themselves. Charles is with Vertical Bridge, and I'll just let him go down the...
Yes, so real quick, Charles Hall, I'm with Vertical Bridge, one of the managers in the area. Small introduction to Vertical Bridge, our developer, the largest privately held power company in the country. Tops and other structures. On top of that, third tower builder.
Dana Holland with All Pro Consulting. Site acquisition, leasing, zoning, permitting of the new cell tower.
My name is Ryan Millock. I'm with All Pro. I'm a project manager. I will be handling the design and engineering.
Good afternoon. My name is Raul Ramos. I'm an RF design engineer with the Verizon wireless team. I'm the principal engineer for North Texas. We're pretty much, trying to find solutions to improve service and performance for the communities.
That's our panel for tonight. What we'd like to do is go through the slide presentation, and once we get through the slide presentation, we'll open it up for Q&A. So to give you a little back history, give you a little back history, like the mayor had mentioned. The initial agreement was signed in January of 22. What that agreement was stating is that they would go ahead and go into a design phase and bring that back to the town for approval. That would need to still go through our planning and zoning and our town council. That agreement was created, and Vertical Bridge went away, and they created some of the design phases of the cell tower. Some of the things that we looked at as that the design was going on, that it would be used for a variety of things, along with providers, some emergency services, communications would be put on the tower. Our SCADA system, which runs our water system, would also be located, as well as some Wi-Fi. The lease included payments to the town of about $12,000 annually for the first two carriers, and then $300 after any additional carriers were put on the tower. Like I mentioned earlier, this does still have to go through planning and zoning, so this is still in the proposed phase. And part of tonight is to really get feedback from the community, to kind of see what some of the next steps are. As we all had mentioned, the location, you have Dove, Davis, and the circle represents the actual location of the tower. You have that on the west side of the fire station property. And I'll turn it over to Raul to talk a little bit about the coverage and kind of how they designed that and the location.
Thank you. So we've been looking at this location for several years now. As you know, we all know that the town of Westlake has been growing considerably. Now we have a new development, an important development just next to Highway 114, which is the Entrada development. And we want to cover that area, improve both service and what we call capacity. So it's very important that we think about capacity, because you might have some kind of service at home, but it might not be the best. But what we're trying to achieve here at Verizon is to provide good throughput, so everybody can use their phones, any emergency, any day-to-day usage. Also, there's many people working at home, and they can use their services at home as well. When you look at the plot, that's what is called a receive signal plot. The red and yellows, those are the new signals. Right now, without that tower, you're going to be on the yellow and green, which is pretty much outside, inside marginal and outside in your vehicles. You can have maintain a good call. What we're trying to achieve here is to add 4G and 5G services, which will give you throughput, what we call speeds, of 50 to up to 300 megabit per second in your phones. Any phones, iPhone 12 and above, and you can also get a 5G home service if you desire as a backup for your home. Right now, this coverage, the triangle in green that marks the tower location, and it's pretty much covering all the way to 114 and the Entrada area, and also going south, the neighborhoods of Granada, and almost close to the golf course, but not quite. So pretty much we're looking about 1 mile radius. Right now, all our towers that cover Westlake, the town of Westlake, are outside Westlake. You don't have, at least from Verizon, you don't have any tower inside the town. So we're trying to do our best to service you from other towns, Keller, Trophy Club, South Lake. So I think this is a benefit for us, for the community. That's what we're trying to achieve. The tower height, I think there is a concern, but the tower height is defined by how much we need to cover with this tower. And also, it's going to be defined by how many carriers we need to accommodate on the tower. So that's why we're seeking between 130 to 150 feet, so we can accommodate multiple carriers. Everybody can install their Dish, AT&T, T-Mobile, as well as Verizon Wireless. That's why the tower is the height that we are recommending.
Raul, this is at 100 feet coverage, 100-foot tower, is that correct?
Yeah, this is 100 foot. That's the minimum required that Verizon was looking for. And if we say, okay, let's build a tower of 100 feet, other carriers will be below 90, 80 feet. So there might not be as efficient with this type of tower. 120, this is a good elevation. I think that this is a kind of a good medium. And other providers, T-Mobile, AT&T, they can be above 100 feet, 100 and 110. So that's a very desirable sign. This is the maximum, obviously, and that will give an advantage both on coverage and to other carriers to have a good elevation. Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't have the map here, but I can create it for the council. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Understood. Yes. Yeah, there was just one more location. It was going down on Davis Boulevard south, but then this location was proposed was discussed with the city, and we considered that it was the best option because it's farther away from any other residences. So this one, it's. I'll need to check. It was closer to the golf area, golf course. What? Let's follow up on questions. Yeah.
Danny, you want to address the design?
Sorry, and then several different design options that accommodate multiple also that would look the tower that we that was the one.
To piggyback off what Dana said, the original tower was to mimic that of the fire station. Kind of covered it. So you're going to see here in the next couple of slides photo simulations of what the tower would look like next to the fire station. A lot of you have already seen some of the posts that Troy made to your website. That's the location. So this is 100-foot tower again. Fire station. I want to also mention here that still work with it, get a little, add some of the screening, see that kind of middle section in the upper section. We can add that all the way up. Of course, it would still block the signal from a perspective, but visual perspective. Again, Raul mentioned the maximum effort. Also mentioned 30 is probably this slide says 30 would be the structure. You're just going to get a couple more angles.
This is the 100-foot view from Dove and Davis looking west, northwest. And this is the view, 130-foot tower looking from the parking garages, Fidelity. 150-foot tower. That Post Oak, 150-foot.
Yeah, so again, additional conversations with your council. It was also proposed that people a bit more of a natural look. So we did throw in some simulations of monopine like, and this is 50-foot version. You can't really see them in this picture, but there are antennas at the very top of that really well. 30. So getting back to Raul's point, we think that 130 is probably the sweet spot. 30 is the very top of that. Go through just a couple more views here. Did the simulation, different angles. 30.
All right, so we'll open it up to any questions or comments.
So I'm going to share some of the things people have been calling me
Sure.
probably the last couple of days, weeks, all day. Obviously, many of the residents on the northern portion of Vaquero are concerned about home values. Cell tower in the back, not conducive to conserving their home value. Other people have been pointing out to me that the natural cell phone barriers, cell signal barriers, low E windows, stone, metal, insulation. And if you look at the Vaquero building standards, you're pretty much got a Vaquero home. All the things that block cell phone signals into the home are pretty much our building code. And so, people point that out, that you build a new tower, it's, the outside you'll still have reception, but maybe inside it's not going to change too much. And then other people ask questions about, well, why couldn't we have a distributed tower system, skies as lights down Davis, similar to what Southlake does? And so why was a single location brought up? And these are the things brought up to me today. And there's other points going to probably come out tonight, but those are three highlight ones I would try to get answers for people on. Impact for home values. And then when you show the map, it's you showed the red, green, all that stuff like that. But are we talking 1 bars, 2 bars, 3 bars? How does it convey to the regular person, right? And then the studies that we have, are those simulation, or do we go out and say, like standing here, backside of Carroll Estates Boulevard, I'm going to have 200 stuff. And the other questions were, is this 5G ultra wide? Or is this just LTE tower? We're building an LTE tower. Like, why are we going that way when we're heading towards 5G ultra wide, right? And so there's various versions in this town of, certain people want the tower and other people don't want the tower. My goal is the process of kind of fleshing out those issues to make sure that we have a fair and accurate depiction of what the town wants to do. So those are my questions that were presented to me that I'd like to get answers from you guys, if you guys can. And so I don't know who starts off this. Charles, do you answer those questions? Or
Probably not the best to answer, what materials are permissible. And I can say that Raul could probably back me up on this. The tower would provide you much better coverage than hotspot light pole. I live in a community that has those. For the same.
Yeah, that's the reality. The idea of what we call a macro site is that the towers on top of that macro site, they can transmit a little bit higher power. So we can cover 1.5, 2 miles radius. And then when we're talking about small cells, what you refer are the little antennas on the poles. Those have to be a very low power because those are restricted by FCC. So these are very specifically localized sites. Maybe we'll serve you a house, maybe 2 houses. But with the macro site, with the tower, we can serve multiple communities.
Well, people point that out to me. Also point out, well, how do stadiums do this? Stadiums can serve.
Yeah, the stadium, we use a combination of giant towers around it, and then we use what we call DAS systems, distributed antenna systems. So that's pretty much throughout the entire stadium. We have multiple sections. But the stadium is contained, not on free space. So the signal pretty much, I can say that it bounces and is contained within the stadium.
Sure. And then impact on home values. People near the tower. There's been some studies, people point out, sell 10 to 20% less because no one wants to live next to a tower. Have you seen that in your research as you put up towers? You've got 20,000 towers nationally.
Yeah. No, I would say if it was the run-of-the-mill cell tower, steel in the air, probably have a greater impact than what we're proposing. Not run any studies.
Okay. And then for our town, our building codes are pretty high, and there's lots of information out there about low E windows. We require it as part of our town. They can really block cell signal. Stone can really block cell signal, and all the materials we use to build anything in this town can block a cell signal. So if I have a 150-foot tower, is it going to change my cell coverage in the houses that we're talking about? I might have coverage outside, but I live in my house.
Yes, arguably, I will say that yes, that will be the case, but it's because of the location of the tower, both a combination of the location and the height. So once you have a height that is what we call the clutter is the combination of all the trees and houses around the towers. So we want to overcome that in order to overcome those obstructions, we have to be high. That's why we are recommending the height be around 120 feet, which is, in this case will be 130 feet top of the tower. The closeness right now, since there's an average of from this location 1.5 miles to 2 miles from any other tower that is serving the area. So that's why right now you might see challenges in your houses to get signal if you're in a room or if you're in your playroom. So this location, somebody asked earlier if there was another location, and I was thinking on a previous site that we were considering, but it was defeated on planning because it was too far away from Entrada as well. If we move farther south, it's going to be too far from Entrada. So we want to cover the commercial area and the houses.
So other comments given to me were about Entrada. Entrada has a tower. It's about 120, 130 feet. Well, why couldn't we utilize that current tower and then do a smaller tower down the road? And that way, 150-foot item, and you have still the coverage for the areas you're looking at, right? So that tower is about 3/4 of a mile, 2/3 of a mile from Fidelity, which has 11,000 people assigned to it, about 1,100 people. Then Entrada would be 330 homes, whatever the commercial do. So that was a commentary given to me of, well, why couldn't we have a tower there and a smaller one, or series of small ones down the way? So, and make use of what exists already. Food for thought. Did you guys look at that, or?
Yeah, the reality when we look at the Entrada is that it's really close to our other site, which is on the north side of the 114 highway. So they're going to be like two sites really close to each other, and that causes interference. It's not the ideal or optimal scenario. That's why when we look at the fire station, that was what we call the optimal location for a new tower. And then there are other considerations on the Entrada, right? It might get really complicated in terms of structural analysis on the weight thing has to hold. These towers are specifically made to hold heavy equipment.
Other questions given to me today, would this become a lightning rod? Because it's the highest piece of metal in Westlake. Then, ironically, we had a house hit by lightning that burned down about 6 months ago. And so, will living near there be a lightning strike?
It's not a lightning rod, but it's prepared to withstand lightning hits in case that is like any other building, like any rooftop or building.
And another question posed to me is, on the financial sides, people opined that they felt the numbers were very low, and the town of Westlake, we get the same amount of money, whether it's a 100-foot tower, 150-foot tower. People were confused about that modeling. You get 4 carriers on there, we get $300 extra a carrier. Financials were concerning to people in town. So, ask about questions to ask that tonight.
Yeah, so the shorter the tower is, the less likely we're going to get carriers. So that's why we're saying 130-foot tower can get carriers at 120, which would make the carriers happy. I also have 4 carriers, therefore go down to get off.
I had people call me today and opine that they would give me $1,000 a month not to have a cell phone tower. And so, I'm trying to answer all the questions
Right.
people are having and make sure we have good answers as we go forth. And this is going to be part of a process, so our town and planning and zoning can make informed decisions of what's best for the town of Westlake. That's all the questions.
Sorry? Don't believe it has to be lit
No.
like per FAA or...
No, not at the height. No, it has to be exceeding 280 feet. Yes,
or close to an airport.
or close to an airport.
So
Yes.
Yeah, we're open to questions and comments now.
So if I may, if you guys have any comments or concerns, if y'all can step up to the podium so that folks at home joining us via online can hear the questions as well. Yes.
So I'm Anna. I live in Vaquero on Velarde Court. directly across from. I have excellent. I have AT&T. I don't have it. I do want to say that I'm opposed to it. I think it's going to drastically reduce my value, our quality of life. We moved to Westlake because of the high standards it has in the city, the awards it's won for outdoor beauty. If I wanted to live next to a smokestack or water tank or tower, I wouldn't have chosen this. Bought the land and built the house. I got the landscape plan from the city for the fire department, and it was on the city communications that the little park there would never be used for any building or anything else. Based on that, we bought the land. I want to comment about the renderings and the photographs that you have that I think are completely misleading and ridiculous. Take a picture from way over yonder, or a picture from the Fidelity roof. I can pretty much guess or guarantee that whoever took the photographs used a wide-angle lens. Because I live right across the street, and I went out and took a photograph, and it's 50 yards from my house to the base of the tower. So from the street to where the tower is, it looks like this long driveway. It's not that long. So it's half a football field. Those of you who were watching the game last night, go Cowboys. That kicker had a really tough time. And you know, those NFL goalposts are only 45 feet. So you can imagine, having 3 or 4 of those 50 yards away from the back of my house. I even have a photograph from where the tower is going to my backyard, and you can basically see my husband inside waving. So I would love for you to put these pictures up on the website and share these, because this is really accurate of what it's going to do to the community, to the neighbors, to all of the neighbors who are on Dove Road and Vaquero. This is very, very close. This is not a 4-lane highway. This is a small rural road, beautiful country feel. Why even if you look at what Fidelity did to make sure that there's beautiful gardens and flowers and farmland, now we're going to put up this monstrosity. I mean, no one's going to want to buy our houses when that's what I'm looking at after a long, stressful day. I'm going to go outside and look at this lightning rod tower. So I am opposed, and I do not think that the photographs, the depictions, I think that the damage it's going to do to lifestyle and home values is not properly.
Anyone else? Any comments you want to give? Andy? Come on now.
I live on Nighthawk Court, just a cul-de-sac away, and I will definitely be seeing that tower outside of my bedroom. We've been in the area for about 10 years. I observed the very tall, ugly, thought, my gosh, who in the world would ever want to build houses there? I do see houses built there, but I certainly would never want to acquire real estate that close.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, concerns?
As a longtime Verizon customer, south end of I'm very supportive. In fact, put the other one down on the other end. Okay, I'm sitting here with, 5 bars of 5G with a little UW. I don't know.
Ultra wide.
Yeah, and at my house, I'm lucky to get. I also spent about $7,000 putting a cellular repeater system inside my house so I could phone calls. I work from home a lot. I live on my cell phone. This community, I agree, has a very high standards, very high functioning people live in this community. We rely on technology for day-to-day existence. Society, we're not going backwards. time to march forward. Supportive of a tower, 2 towers, or whatever solution makes sense. Distributed as well. I'm not a cellular technology, but the cell signal, even going down Davis from the Vaquero entrance, 114, calls drop in and out just on that trip as you go up the hill. So cellular coverage, 5G, high bandwidth, Wi-Fi is an issue in the community. It needs to get solved, especially considering, I think, the type of residents that what we expect from supportive.
Thank you. Any other comments? Victor?
My name is Victor Sanson. I'm the Planning and Zoning Commission. I just want to say that I understand like we have this balance that we need to meet. We inherited this deal, town council, and as a planning and zoning, and I'm underwhelmed with the level of been brought to us for this. Disappointed, but we're not through, I would say, with the analysis, and as much as it probably pains folks trying to get their deal done, we do need to, I think, investigate this and just try to find like a solution that works to bridge the needs of the community. We're certainly, I think that the council and Z are aware of both sides of it. Quickly, depending on how motivated our partners are, open this up and investigate some alternatives, and then come back with some options that maybe are palatable as a compromise. I'm committed to be on that. Just wanted to mention it. Please, everybody.
Thank you.
I just would really appreciate select from voice of the second question about being to 5G, I'd really like some information on the options that we have provided in the next couple months, looking at how long those what are the pros and cons?
Thank you, Anna. Any other comments, concerns? Wayne, want to come on up? Okay. All right. Andy, sure. Come on down.
Andy Cedeno, I live in Glenwick, represent. But certainly not all the voices in Glenwick. For me, I echo exactly what Anna was saying. I think it's a little deceptive. I think the maximum building height, I want to say 35 feet, right? On the residential side, it's about 35 feet, correct? If you look at the peak of the fire station, that's about 35 feet, give or take, right? In the rendition, your building sits about this high in variance to that. So you brought up a very interesting comment, Charles. You live in the Woodlands, a very affluent area as well. I guess my question would be, would you like to have a 150-foot tower in your neighborhood? How popular would you be to try to sell that to the residents? It's hypothetical, I realize, but saying that's the position that you're putting it in. I also got on comment with some folks from Vaquero, and I'm like, hey, man, if you want it, put it in the middle of Vaquero. I guarantee you're not going to put it by the number 10 box. You're not going to put it by the clubhouse. They're not going to agree to that. So my point is, just look and see what's the best for the community, not what's not going to be obtrusive to some of the other people in the community. You know what I mean? And that's a very valid question. What percentage of people are missing calls? Why doesn't Fidelity have this? Why doesn't Schwab have this already? You know, multi-billion-dollar corporations don't have this. I mean, let's face it, you guys, you're not doing it. You're not doing it because you're great guys. You're going to make money off of this. And let's tell the truth. So what's the end for you? To sell a higher capacity tower, to be able to get more people to go on that tower, correct, and be able to sell line service. I mean, the town as residents, we're not getting anything for it. I mean, $1,000 a month. So that's my comment. I'm completely against it. Yeah, I want a viable solution, but I don't think that's.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any comments or concerns anyone else wants to share? Troy, do you have anything else?
No, I think that's it, Mayor. We appreciate everybody's time tonight, and we'll kind of put all these thoughts together and look at, coming back to the council with some solutions and some viable options. We'll look to have another meeting like this in the near future.
Thank you.
Well done.